Eli Carter was about to die when the alien ship chose him. Sand filled his mouth as he hit the ground. His visor cracked. His radio screamed with static and then went silent. The desert sun burned like a judgment. Eli lay half-buried, chest heaving, fingers clawing at the dust as his broken rover smoked behind him. He had come to this frontier world alone. A survey job no one else wanted. Long pay, long silence, long risk. Now the sky split open. A shadow passed over the dunes, wide and sharp, moving against the wind. Eli forced himself onto one knee and looked up, heart hammering. The ship was not sleek. It was ancient. Gold-veined stone and blue crystal plates floated together, as if held by memory instead of metal. It hovered above him without sound. Eli laughed once, short and broken. "Of course," he whispered, "now." A beam of pale light dropped from the hull. It scanned him slowly, lingering on his bloodied hands, his torn suit, his shaking breath. Then a voice entered his mind. "Candidate identified." Eli stiffened. The voice was calm, female. "Not human." "I didn't sign up for this," he said aloud because silence felt worse. The beam brightened. The sand around him smoothed into glass. "You have been chosen as a companion." The word hit harder than the fall. Before Eli could answer, the world vanished. He woke beneath fabric that shimmered like woven sunlight. The air was cool, clean. His pain was gone. Eli sat up fast and immediately froze. She stood across the chamber. Tall, still, watching him. Her skin was light, touched by warm gold tones. Her long brown hair flowed freely down her back, catching the light. A crown of gold rested on her head, set with a single red gemstone that seemed to pulse softly. Her outfit was elaborate. Gold and blue layers wrapped her slim frame, patterned with symbols Eli did not recognize. Jewels caught the light at her ears and wrists. Her brown eyes met his without fear. Without warmth. Without apology. "I am Princess Amara of the Solari Expanse," she said. Her English was flawless. Her voice carried authority, like a blade wrapped in silk. Eli swallowed. "Okay," he said, "that's a lot." She studied him as if he were an object placed incorrectly on a table. "You are human," she said. "Not a question. Last time I checked." Her gaze sharpened. "You have been assigned to me." Eli frowned. "Assigned how?" Amara's jaw tightened. "As my companion." The word again. "No," Eli said immediately. "Nope, I don't do royalty or assignments or whatever this is." She tilted her head. Confused. Offended. "You were chosen by the Covenant engine," she said. "It does not err." Eli slid off the bed and stood. He was shorter than her by a little, but he met her eyes anyway. "Then it made its first mistake," he said. "I didn't agree to anything." Silence fell between them, heavy and strange. Amara's fingers curled slowly at her side. "You misunderstand," she said. "This is not a request." Eli felt a chill crawl up his spine. The room hummed softly, responding to her mood. "What happens if I refuse?" he asked. For the first time, something flickered across her face. Not anger. Fear. "The expanse will fall," she said quietly. "And so will your world." Eli stared at her. At the crown. At the calm certainty in her eyes. Outside the chamber, something massive shifted. A distant tremor rolled through the ship. Alarms began to sing in a language Eli did not know. Amara turned toward the sound, then back to him. "You were given to me to prevent what comes next," she said. "And already it has begun." The ship lurched. Lights dimmed. The desert world they had left behind burned across the viewing window like a warning. Eli felt his pulse thunder. "Princess," he said slowly, "you picked the wrong human." Amara's lips curved into the smallest, most dangerous smile. "No," she said. "I picked the only one." And far beyond the ship, something ancient had noticed them both. The ship screamed, not with sound but with pressure. Eli felt it in his teeth, in his bones, like the universe grinding its jaw. He grabbed the edge of a glowing console as the floor tilted beneath him. Lights flashed in sharp blues and warning reds. Symbols rippled across the walls like living script. "What's happening?" Eli shouted. Amara stood perfectly balanced as the ship shuddered. Her crown glowed faintly, the red gem pulsing faster now. "They have found us," she said. "They who?" Eli demanded. She hesitated. Just a fraction of a second. "The Void Choir." The name crawled under his skin. The ship lurched again, harder this time. Eli slammed into a pillar and swore, pain flaring through his shoulder. "I thought you said this thing was ancient," he snapped. "Ancient usually means sturdy." Amara turned sharply. "This vessel survived 3 galactic collapses," she said. "It is not the ship that is weak." Another impact. The hull rippled like water struck by a stone. Eli pushed himself upright. "Then what is?" Amara met his gaze. Her eyes were no longer calm. "You," she said. That landed harder than the collision. Before Eli could respond, the chamber doors dissolved into light. The space beyond opened into a vast circular hall, its ceiling stretching high into shadow. At its center hovered a sphere of spinning symbols, humming with restrained power. Amara walked toward it. Eli followed, reluctantly, heart racing. "What exactly does companion mean?" he asked. "You still haven't explained that part." Amara stopped before the sphere. She placed her hand against it. The ship quieted. "Companions are anchors," she said. "They stabilize royal bloodlines when destiny fractures." Eli blinked. "Okay, that sentence makes 0 sense." She looked at him then. Really looked at him. "My people see time differently," she said. "We observe probability currents, futures, failures." The sphere brightened. "My death creates a cascade," Amara continued. "Empires fall, systems burn, Earth is not spared." Eli's stomach tightened at the casual way she said it. "And I fit into this how?" he asked. The sphere projected an image between them. A battlefield of stars. Ships torn apart. Worlds cracking like eggs. At the center of the chaos stood Amara. And beside her, Eli froze. It was him. Older. Scarred. Standing between Amara and a storm of black light, his hands glowing with something that looked painfully human. "That's not possible," he whispered. "You were never meant to be important," Amara said softly. "And yet, every surviving future includes you." Eli stepped back. "This is insane." The ship trembled again, sharper now. A shrill tone echoed through the hall. Amara's head snapped up. "They are forcing entry." "Who are they?" Eli demanded. The air darkened. Figures began to form along the walls. Tall, thin, made of absence instead of matter. Their faces were empty hollows, singing without mouths. Eli's blood ran cold. "What do they want?" he asked. Amara's voice dropped. "They consume futures," she said. "Especially royal ones." One of the beings turned its hollow gaze toward Eli. It paused. Then it tilted its head. Eli felt something press against his mind. Memories flickered. His childhood. Earth skis. Lonely nights on distant worlds. He screamed and dropped to his knees. Eli, Amara shouted. She ran to him, kneeling, placing her hands on his temples. Do not listen, she said fiercely. They will hollow you out. The pressure intensified. Eli clenched his fists, breath ragged. I didn't ask for this, he gasped. I didn't ask to matter. Amara leaned closer, her forehead touching his. Neither did I, she whispered. Something snapped. Not in the ship. In Eli. The pressure vanished. Light exploded from his hands, raw and untrained. The void choir recoiled, their forms unraveling like smoke in a storm. The ship roared back to life. Eli collapsed forward, breathing hard. Amara caught him before he hit the floor. For a moment they stayed like that. Too close. Her hands warm, steady. She stared at him with something new in her eyes. Not command. Oh, you felt it, she said quietly. Eli nodded, shaken. I don't know what I did. The Covenant engine was correct, Amara said. He looked up at her. At the princess who was no longer just regal, but real. Scared, determined. Congratulations, he muttered. You've got yourself a very confused companion. The ship stabilized. But far beyond it, the void choir did not retreat. They watched, and they began to sing his name. Eli woke to silence. The ship floated steadily now, the chaos of the void choir only a memory in the hum of engines. He was still on the floor, knees scraped, hands shaking from the surge of power he didn't understand. Amara was nearby, sitting cross-legged, her crown tilted slightly as if the battle had weighed on her more than she let show. Her gaze followed him, calm, steady, but tinged with something Eli couldn't name. I'm not supposed to do that, he said finally, voice rough. He shook his head. I don't even know how I did that. Amara stood and approached him. Each step echoed lightly against the polished floors. Neither did I, she admitted. Her tone was low, vulnerable, almost human. The engine never fully explains why humans are chosen. Eli laughed dryly, brushing dust from his suit. Chosen, assigned, companion, yeah, that's my life now. Saved a princess, scared some cosmic horrors, still don't get a manual. She frowned, and for the first time, Eli noticed the subtle twitch in her fingers. Her crown glinted in the soft lights, red gemstone pulsing gently as if syncing with her heartbeat. We need to move, Amara said abruptly, snapping him out of his thoughts. The choir will return, and soon. Eli blinked. Return, didn't we just? They retreat only to find a new approach, she said, her voice hardened. Eli, you don't understand. They are relentless, and they are patient. He swallowed hard. I feel like I just started understanding anything, and now you tell me there's more. Amara's eyes softened for a fleeting second. You are the first human to survive a direct encounter, she said. And perhaps the first capable of stopping them. The weight of her words pressed down on him. His pulse jumped, chest tightening. I'm not ready for that, he whispered. I'm barely ready to be your passenger. Amara hesitated. Then she reached out and brushed a hand over his shoulder. Not commanding, not gentle, simply acknowledging. You do not need to be ready, she said softly. You simply need to be. Her words struck him in a way that the Covenant engine's cryptic pronouncements never had. Eli wanted to argue, to run, to hide, but something in her eyes kept him rooted. He realized that for the first time in his life, someone believed he could matter. Fine, he muttered, more to himself than her. I'll try. Amara inclined her head. That will suffice for now. The ship began descending toward a nearby planet. Its surface shimmered with orange sands and jagged black stone formations. Where are we going? Eli asked. A refuge, Amara replied. A place outside the choir's immediate reach, but temporary. We cannot stay long. He followed her to a small observation deck. The planet stretched below them, wild and untamed. Winds carved canyons and distant storms roared over cliffs of iron like rock. "It looks dangerous," he said. Amara's eyes gleamed, almost amused. "All places worth surviving are." The ship's controls hummed, responding to her touch. Eli noticed her fingers danced across panels, and her confidence seemed natural. But he sensed the strain beneath it, the exhaustion she didn't voice. As they prepared to land, the ship jolted slightly. Eli stumbled, and Amara caught his arm, steadying him. Their hands lingered a moment too long. His chest hammered. Her eyes softened, betraying a flicker of something more than duty, something unspoken. "Eli," she said quietly, voice low, "you are more than survival, you are hope, not just for me but for all of us." Eli swallowed, throat tight. "I don't feel like hope," he muttered. "I feel like a guy who barely survived a fight he didn't understand, holding hands with a princess who's way out of his league." Amara tilted her head. Her crown glinted as sunlight caught it. "You may feel that way," she said, "but that is irrelevant, you are." The ship landed with a muted thud. Eli followed Amara down a ramp into the desert world, feeling the hot wind against his skin. The place was silent, almost too quiet. The sand underfoot was redder than he expected, soft and shifting. Jagged black stones rose like broken teeth in the distance. "This is our shelter," Amara said. "But the choir will find us, eventually." Eli looked at her, his chest tight. "And when they do—" She paused, glancing toward the horizon where black clouds were forming. "Then," she said, voice steady, "we fight together." Eli swallowed hard. For the first time, fear and determination blended in a strange harmony. He didn't fully understand what being a companion meant, but he knew one thing: he wouldn't be running alone. A shadow passed over them in the distance. Eli's hand instinctively went to his side. "Amara," he whispered. She glanced at him, eyes narrowing. "They're closer than I thought." And just like that, the desert shifted. Something alive, enormous, and unlike anything Eli had ever seen, moved through the dunes toward them. Eli's heart slammed, and he realized this was only the beginning. The shadow moved faster than the eye could track. Eli squinted, shielding his face from the harsh desert sun, and felt a shiver crawl up his spine. "It's huge," he muttered. "Bigger than anything I've ever seen." Amara's eyes narrowed. "They are not natural beings," she said. "They are constructs, born of the choir's will." The ground trembled beneath their feet as the creature approached. Its form shifted like smoke, solidifying and reforming in jagged, impossible angles. It was neither alive nor dead, and yet it radiated malice. Eli swallowed. "Constructs, huh? Well, that makes me feel a lot better." Amara didn't smile. She raised her hand, and the air shimmered around her. The ground beneath them hummed, responding to her touch. "The engine didn't prepare me for this," she said softly, almost to herself. "But you might help me bridge the gap." Eli frowned. "Bridge the gap? I just learned I'm supposed to be some cosmic anchor, and now I'm the bridge. Can someone write a clear instruction manual here?" Amara's lips curved faintly, but her focus never wavered. "You will learn quickly. There is no time for manuals." The construct hissed, a sound like metal scraping glass. It lunged forward. Eli reacted instinctively. A surge of energy flared in his hands, untrained but potent. A beam of raw light shot toward the construct, forcing it back. Amara's eyes widened slightly. "You can control it," she said, awe breaking through her calm. Eli stumbled, sweat dripping into his eyes. I don't know how." "You will," Amara said sharply. "Focus, anchor yourself, anchor me." Eli blinked, trying to make sense of her words. He did somehow. He closed his eyes. The desert fell away. He felt the pull of the ship, the pulse of Amara beside him, the energy of the world beneath his feet. And then the construct. He reached toward it not with weapons, not with fear, but with the untrained force of himself, raw and human. The construct faltered. It shrieked, folding in on itself like dark paper. Eli felt the pull of it, trying to drag him into the void, but Amara's hand found his, steadying him. "You are stronger than they anticipated," she whispered. When he opened his eyes, the construct lay broken in the sand. Not dead, not alive, just gone. Eli collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. "You really picked the weirdest humans," Amara said, voice low, almost teasing. He looked at her, startled by the faint humor. "Excuse me." "I said you are unusual," she clarified, her crown glinting in the harsh light. "Human, yes, but something more. That is why you survived. That is why the choir cannot touch you, yet." Eli nodded slowly, still trying to process what had just happened. "Survive," he repeated. "I feel like I nearly died twice today." Amara crouched beside him, resting a hand on his shoulder. "You may," she said softly. "But now you are necessary." The wind picked up. Sand whipped across their faces, stinging eyes and lips. The horizon darkened with more movement, smaller but faster. "They're coming," Amara said. Eli gritted his teeth. "Then I guess we fight again." Amara's gaze softened, almost imperceptibly. "You do not fight alone, Eli," she said. "You are my companion, and I am yours." The words lingered in the hot air, heavier than the desert sun. Eli's heart thumped, a mix of fear and something else, something he couldn't name. The smaller shapes emerged from the dunes. Constructs, many of them, faster than the last one, moving with a coordinated, predatory rhythm. Eli stood, fists glowing faintly. Amara positioned herself beside him, hands raised, her crown catching the sunlight. "Anchor me," she commanded. He nodded, unsure what he was doing. But somehow he did. The energy flared, stronger this time, a bond forming between them that neither fully understood. The constructs lunged, and for the first time, Eli felt not fear but purpose. He glanced at Amara. Her eyes held pride and maybe something more. Something warm. The desert exploded with light as human and alien power collided with the choir's constructs. And in that moment, Eli realized this was no longer just about survival. It was about connection. It was about trust. It was about something worth fighting for. Far beyond the dunes, the horizon shimmered. The choir watched, and they were not pleased. Eli took a deep breath. "Let's see how far I can push this, princess." Amara's hand found his. "Further than you imagine, companion." The first wave hit, and the desert erupted. The battle in the desert raged on. Eli could feel the heat of the sun on his back, the stinging grit in his eyes, but none of that mattered. All that mattered was the connection, the bond with Amara that thrummed in his veins like fire. The constructs were relentless, faster, and smarter than before. They shifted, adapted, learning from every strike. Eli barely had time to think, only to react. He raised his hands, pouring every ounce of human willpower into the glowing energy that flowed from him. Amara moved with him, a perfect, unspoken rhythm. Her gestures were precise, her magic shimmering like gold light around her. Together they were chaos and order intertwined, a human and a princess, unmatched and unrelenting. "You're doing better than you think," Amara shouted over the roar of sand and energy. Eli barely had a chance to breathe. "Better, I'm barely surviving." Her laugh was brief but real, a sound that carried through the desert like music. For a moment the world felt almost normal, almost human. And in that moment, Eli felt something he hadn't dared feel before: hope. But hope was dangerous here. From the horizon, another figure emerged, taller, darker than the constructs they had faced before. It moved with purpose, every step sending shockwaves through the desert. Eli stumbled backward, sensing something far older, far more intelligent than any construct. "Amara, what is that?" he gasped. Her eyes went sharp, narrowing. "It's a harbinger," she said quietly. "The choir sends it when they believe the target is beyond their reach." Eli swallowed. He knew the legends. The harbinger was supposed to be unstoppable, a being born to crush hope and leave nothing behind. "It's coming for us," he said. Amara placed a hand on his chest, and he froze at the warmth. "Not for us," she corrected. "For me, but you anchor me. That is why it notices you." Eli felt a surge of fear, a raw human fear he hadn't felt in years. He clenched his fists, the energy in his hands trembling, unstable. "You mean I'm important?" he asked, voice shaking. "Yes," she said simply. "And if you fail, it is not just me that falls, it is countless worlds." The harbinger struck the desert first with its gaze, bending reality like glass. Eli felt his body resist, instinctively shielding Amara. Light exploded from his hands, crashing against the harbinger's force. Amara's voice cut through the chaos. "Focus on me, anchor me." He did, somehow, despite fear and pain, he did. The energy surged stronger, brighter, and for the first time, Eli understood. He was not just a human. He was something more, a force tied to destiny itself. The harbinger recoiled. It had underestimated him. Eli stumbled, panting. Amara rushed to his side, hands trembling slightly as she steadied him. "You," she whispered. "You survived." He looked at her, breathing hard, sweat and sand coating his face. "Barely," he muttered, "but we did it. I think we did it." She studied him, eyes shining. "You did it," she said, voice softening. "You saved more than me today. You saved everything we fight for." Eli's heart hammered in his chest. He had never felt so alive, so terrifyingly aware of his own power, and of the fragile thread that tied him to this alien princess. Then, far in the distance, a ripple in the desert caught his eye. Another wave, another attack. Eli groaned, but Amara's hand found his again. "Together," she said. He nodded, and for the first time he smiled, not because he was safe, but because he wasn't alone. The desert roared around them. Energy clashed with shadow, sand exploded like fireworks. And in the midst of the chaos, something unexpected happened. Amara leaned closer to him, close enough that he could feel her breath. "You are stronger than I imagined," she whispered. "And braver than I ever expected." Eli's chest tightened, and he realized with a jolt that he cared. He cared for her not as duty, not as survival, but as something deeply human. The harbinger reappeared, larger this time, the desert around it bending in impossible angles. Eli squared his shoulders. "Then let's show it just how human we can be," he said, voice steady despite the fear. Amara's eyes met his. A spark passed between them, unspoken, undeniable, powerful. Together they charged, and the desert exploded into light, shadow, and the unmistakable sound of destiny being rewritten. But far above, hidden in the void, the choir watched. And they were not done. The battle left scars across the desert. Jagged black stones jutted like broken teeth, sand burned red, and the air shimmered with residual energy. Eli's body ached, his hands raw from the strain of holding powers he barely understood. Yet, despite exhaustion, he stayed close to Amara, matching her movements, mirroring her rhythm. "You need to rest," she said softly, voice carrying both command and concern. Her eyes searched his face, finding every line of strain, every trembling muscle. "I can't," he admitted. "If we stop, they'll come back stronger." She studied him, a flicker of admiration crossing her regal features. "Humans are persistent," she murmured, "more than I anticipated." Eli managed a weak, tired smile. "Yeah, you picked the right one, princess." Amara's lips twitched in a faint smile before she quickly composed herself. "Companion, not servant," she corrected gently. "You are my anchor, not my tool." He nodded, though he felt neither anchor nor tool. He felt like a man walking a thin line between fear and something else, something electric, charged, and unfamiliar. The sky shifted. Clouds of dark energy, blacker than any natural storm, began to gather on the horizon. The choir wasn't done. Eli could feel it. Their presence pressed against his mind like a cold hand. "They're coming," he whispered. Amara's hand brushed his again, just a touch, brief and grounding. "Yes, but now you know what you can do, and now you trust yourself." Eli swallowed. "I trust us," he admitted quietly. The words felt strange on his tongue, and yet they carried weight, a truth he hadn't acknowledged until now. Amara's eyes softened in a way that made his chest twist. The regal mask she always wore gave way to something more human: fear, admiration, and a strange tenderness he wasn't sure he deserved. "You are remarkable, Eli," she said, voice low. "Not because of the engine or destiny, because of you, your choices, your courage, your humanity." He blinked, startled. "Humanity? You really think that matters against them?" "It matters more than you know," she said. "The choir seeks to destroy what they cannot understand, and they cannot understand you." For a brief moment, the desert was silent. Only the wind moved the sand, carrying the faint scent of ozone and scorched stone. Eli exhaled slowly, trying to steady his racing heart. "I still don't get why me. I'm just a guy from Earth. I was supposed to do boring stuff like office work or coffee or bad dates." Amara's laugh was soft, almost musical. "Destiny does not consult humans about plans. You were chosen because you are exactly what is needed." He shook his head, managing a dry smile despite exhaustion. "I feel like I barely survived being me, and now I'm supposed to save worlds. That's a lot of pressure, Princess." "You are not alone," Amara said, stepping closer. Her hand brushed his again, lingering longer this time. "I am with you. We face this together." Eli looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time he saw beyond the crown, beyond the gold and jewels, beyond the calm command. He saw her, vulnerable, fierce, human in ways he hadn't expected. You really mean that?" he asked, voice low. "I do," she said, eyes locking with his. "You are my companion, Eli, not just for battle, but for every moment that follows." A quiet warmth spread through him, something that had nothing to do with power or destiny. It was connection, trust, something fragile yet unbreakable. The distant rumble of the choir reminded them both that there was no time to dwell. Eli's hands sparked faintly, instinctively reaching for the energy that had saved them before. Amara placed a hand over his. "Focus, together we will make it through." He nodded, heart hammering, not with fear but with something else. Determination, courage, and quietly an unfamiliar emotion that made the desert feel warmer than it had any right to be. As the shadows crept closer, swirling over the dunes like living darkness, Eli realized something. He wasn't just fighting to survive. He was fighting for her, for them, for the fragile spark of humanity she had placed in him, and the spark she herself seemed to have placed in his heart. The wind howled, the choir advanced, and amidst it all, a human and an alien princess stood side by side, ready to face the impossible together. Eli inhaled sharply, energy crackling in his hands. Show them what humans and Solari can do," he said. Amara smiled, fierce and bright. "Yes, together, companion." The desert erupted once more, and the next wave of shadows descended. And in that chaos, Eli understood something profound. He had been chosen not just to survive, but to be worthy, worthy of trust, worthy of destiny, and perhaps worthy of her. The desert was a storm of light and shadow. Eli's hands glowed with raw energy, unrefined but powerful, as he channeled it alongside Amara. She moved with a grace that seemed almost effortless, her gold and blue robes catching the sunlight like fire. Together, they were a single force, human courage fused with alien precision. The Harbinger loomed above, black as night and vast as a mountain, its form ever shifting. Smaller constructs scuttled around them, trying to flank, to distract, to overwhelm. Eli's chest heaved, sweat and sand clinging to his skin, but he refused to back down. "Keep focused," Amara shouted, her voice cutting through the roar of the desert. "Anchor me, Eli." He reached out, letting the strange energy of his being flow into her, into the bond that had formed between them. The ground beneath them shook, the sky rippled, and the Harbinger recoiled as their combined power slammed into it. For the first time, Eli felt control. Not full control, but enough. Enough to shape the raw energy with intent to protect Amara, to push back the darkness threatening everything they cared for. "You're incredible," Amara said between controlled breaths. Her hand brushed his, and he felt a jolt, a spark deeper than the energy they wielded. Not just magic or power, but something human, connection, trust, and maybe even affection. Eli laughed briefly, though there was no humor in it. "I'm just trying not to die," he said. "You're doing more than surviving," she corrected. "You're shaping fate." A surge of movement from the Harbinger brought them both to alert. Its tendrils of darkness shot toward them, slicing through the desert air like knives. Eli instinctively threw his hands forward, blasting light into them. They sizzled and screamed as they dissolved, leaving only scorched sand behind. Amara's eyes widened and she nodded once sharply. "Exactly like that. You are beyond what I imagined." Eli's chest tightened. "I'm doing it for you," he admitted, voice low. The words felt strange, heavier than the desert sun, but somehow true. "For you, not because I have to, because I want to." Amara froze for a heartbeat, and he saw her expression soften in a way she rarely allowed anyone to see. "Eli," she whispered. Their hands met, fully this time, the bond sparking between them brighter than ever. The Harbinger hissed and recoiled from the intensity of their combined energy, as if recognizing a force it could not devour. Eli swallowed, heart pounding. "We can do this," he said, "together." "Together," Amara echoed, and the word carried with it a promise deeper than any crown, more powerful than any magic. With one final surge, they launched their combined attack. Light and energy ripped through the desert, striking the Harbinger full force. The creature screamed, a sound that made the ground shudder and the air tremble. Then, impossibly, it shattered, torn apart by the human and alien unity it had never anticipated. The constructs fell with it, collapsing like shadows under the morning sun. The desert was still, quiet, except for the hum of the wind and the faint crackle of residual energy. Eli collapsed to his knees, breathing heavily, exhausted beyond anything he had ever known. Amara knelt beside him, brushing a streak of sand from his face. Her touch lingered, gentle, human. "You did it," she said softly. "We did it." Eli looked at her, really looked at her, past the crown, past the regal armor, past the alien elegance. He saw her fear, her strength, and her trust in him, and something inside him shifted. "You know," he said quietly, voice trembling, "I never thought I'd be the guy who matters, but standing here with you, I do." Amara smiled, the first smile Eli had seen that was entirely hers. No formality, no duty, only emotion. "And I never thought I'd find someone human who could stand beside me, not as a follower, but as an equal." They stared at each other, the desert wind wrapping around them, the sun casting golden light on the dunes. And in that silence, something unspoken passed between them. Not just survival, not just destiny. Something far more fragile and far more precious, trust, connection, and the spark of something neither of them had expected. Eli exhaled slowly and reached for her hand. She didn't hesitate. "I guess," he said, a hint of a smile breaking through, "the universe isn't so bad when it surprises you." Amara's laugh was soft, melodic, and real. "Especially when it gives you me." He grinned, breath ragged, heart full. "Then I'd say it's working out pretty well." The desert stretched around them, scarred by battle but quiet now. The sun dipped low, painting the sand in golds and reds. Eli stood, offering his hand to her. She took it without a word, and for the first time he felt, truly felt, the weight and wonder of being a human capable of facing the impossible. Together they walked toward the horizon, the wind carrying the promise of more battles, more dangers, but also more moments like this. Moments where trust, courage, and the unexpected strength of humanity could change everything. And somewhere deep in the void, the choir recoiled, watching the human and the alien princess who had become more than legend, who had become unstoppable. Eli looked at Amara, she looked at him. The universe was vast, dangerous, unforgiving. But they were ready. And no one, not even destiny itself, could take that away.